Get started. Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Saturday, December 9th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first 5 cards in our 5-card spread? First card that we are starting our day off with today is, we've got here our 5 of Cups in its reversal. This is beautiful energy. We've got here that sense of easement coming into play, allowing that moment of shedding grief, shedding these doubts and fears of the past. Listen, one of the things that we've been seeing right now very heavily as it relates to the energy that we've been experiencing, it's been feeling a little bit like that Mercury retrograde coming in a little early. But one of the things that we deeply appreciate right now is it's almost allowing for that clearance of those doubts, those fears that you may have been carrying up until this point. Masculine and feminine in divine union and partnership. This is that sense of easement that we like to see. This is allowing for some of this to be that point of openness. And this is potentially also going to be articulating right now, again, in feminine and masculine, having that room to be more open. Feminine has been holding this back a little bit to a certain extent. This has been a feminine that has almost been, again, navigating that point of stoicism, almost over-calibrating it to a certain extent. But what we're really seeing here that is positive is this is now coming through that space or place where there's going to feel like a bit of catharsis and easement coming through. Masculine, you could be seeing, again, a feminine that is opening up in this expression, and this is further amplifying your own sense of easement. Masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union and partnership right now. This is specifically, if you are still moving in the divine union vibration, that point of surrendering any sense of doubt, of fear, of loss. Masculine, if you're coming into divine union right now, there is this moment that we are identifying and recognizing that you may feel like someone tried to cast doubt on what you're trying to manifest into the world by means of the divine union. For the energy that is still going into that divine union vibration, this is like going to feel a little bit like water off a duck's back. It's almost that moment of someone trying to cast doubt on your manifestation goal. And this is that moment we see for the masculine, if acknowledging this, it's almost this point that feeling completely unbothered by the outside opinions that are coming towards the divine union. Because again, for the energy moving into this modality right now, this is that point of observation that your priorities are on the divine union, not on the opinions of the outside energy around the divine union. Feminine energy coming into divine union right now, seeing and recognizing a masculine that is prioritizing the divine union over the doubts or the opinions of those around them is further going to feel like a huge, overwhelming relief. We're even identifying right now that for a lot of the feminine energy that was moving into divine union at this point, feminine almost anticipated that this was going to happen. This is why we see that the feminine energy was holding back with a point of uncertainty and cynicism, almost looking and holding the divine union like an egg that they were trying to protect, as the masculine energy ran forth with it with a lot more vigor, because this was a feminine that was almost waiting for this other shoe to drop as it relates to what the masculine said that they desired versus what would occur when the masculine started bringing it forth to the energy around them. Masculine energy in this modality right now that feminine is seeing is not allowing others' outside opinion to stray them from their own desire of what they're trying to manifest right now. This is effectively a feminine that's feeling an overwhelming sense of relief, because this is a feminine that is feeling that affirmation that this is truly moving into the divine union frequency. Feminine energy that is in separation. This could potentially be why you feel that you are in separation right now. This is potentially going to feel like a bit more heavy energy, because for feminine energy in this modality, it is almost that feeling of not just the fact that a divine union isn't necessarily forming right now. It's that moment of frustration in terms of feeling like someone outside of the divine union almost had the ability to remove the possibility of the divine union. This is almost a feminine having those full optics on something, not just seeing the fact that this potentially has something to do with the energy of the masculine at play around something, but almost seeing the masculine's lack of ability into protecting something. letting the outside energy effectively shake their own foundation is almost why we see that the feminine is now building this sense of allowing themselves to proceed forward in this way. Because to the feminine, this is almost seeing a masculine energy that almost looks at divine union less as actually something that you need to build strong foundation on, and more as like a sandcastle. More as like a pipe dream, more as in something that was fun to build up or to imagine, but when push comes to shove, they were not actually able to defend and protect. For the feminine energy in this modality, it is that sense of loss, but that is also why we see that the feminine is moving forward from this point, because this is a feminine that is almost feeling and seeing something that they recognize is ultimately out of their control. The feminine cannot bring the masculine into this point in recognizing and helping them understand that when they try to create something, there's always going to be outside energy that is trying to affect it in non-positive ways. Feminine is almost recognizing that this is not even something that they can articulate to a masculine, because it almost just frames them in the same light that it potentially casts those doubts in the first place. Rather, the feminine is almost affirming to themselves the sense of sadness and disappointment of a masculine that may not necessarily have learned this lesson yet. And this is what is creating that sense of peace for the feminine moving forward from this point, if in separation, that almost may feel like a point of acceptance and catharsis. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is effectively that moment that you are having these optics. You potentially are having that moment of seeing not just your own accountability in something, but almost seeing some of the outside energy around a circumstance or situation that may have amplified a choice that you made that you may have felt like you were too influenced upon. And we see here with masculine having this point of observation, seeing something clearly, having that sense of clarity and perspective because of what you've learned about yourself at this moment, is almost reaffirming to yourself. And it's going to feel very bittersweet for the masculine in this modality right now, because it is an observation of what can be gained, but first with the acknowledgement of what the cost was as it relates to going forward. As I mentioned, the masculine energy right now may be feeling like there are some very deep lessons that you are experiencing at this time, but they came at a very, very, very high cost. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here, everyone needs to be a little bit careful today because we've got some abandonment wounds popping to the surface, even for the energy right now of divine feminine and divine masculine in union. Masculine and feminine energy today, even if you're in divine union, there are some moments right now that may be feeling very triggering. As I mentioned, we are going through a point right now of the retrograde coming early. It's like Christmas is coming early this year. No, the Mercury retrograde is coming a bit early this year. Especially for the energy in divine union. This is almost like doing the homework before the assignment's been called for. Masculine and feminine divine union right now, this is this point. There's a lot of openness happening today. There may be a lot of accountability. There may be some observations. What did we see was happening with the feminine? Feminine's been a little tight-lipped over the last few days. Today could be a day that the feminine is potentially opening up as it relates to some of that dark night of the soul energy we saw that was happening over the last few days. The problem around this, and masculine may be doing the same, the problem is there could be some observation that is identifying something that already happened. Maybe even something that was occurring over this week that wasn't necessarily articulated upon. And there could be a deeper conversation that's happening here, again, about timing, about being open when something is happening, as opposed to having allowed something to occur that thus created the harm in the first place. Masculine and feminine, you may be feeling some point of frustration around this right now, because whatever this is that is coming forward at this point, it's challenging territory. It's facing the abandonment wound, but it's all for the sake of it experiencing and acknowledging the abandonment wound, to be more mindful of it as you go forward from this point. So again, being very conscientious of that today, even if you're in divine union, is going to be very important, because this could speak towards some conversations that potentially happen today that may feel somewhat triggering. Making sure that you're not moving from a state of reactivity, but a point of intentionality is going to be key. Now, masculine and feminine, that are moving into divine union and partnership right now, this is potentially also something about triggering conversations, but this could be a point of productivity. What did I say was happening related to the energy moving into divine union right now? Feminine was potentially watching a masculine that was bringing the divine union forth to their sphere of influence. Surprise, surprise, for a feminine seeing this right now, it was almost potentially this moment of acknowledging and almost knowing intuitively that this was a masculine that was going to immediately get a little bit of pushback around them. The more important question, the reason feminine was being quiet about it, was due to the fact of recognizing that this is something that the feminine has no power to control. It's all about how the masculine reacts and responds that is really going to show whether this is a make or break point as it relates to these energies coming into divine union or not. Masculine, like I said, this may be feeling more like a surprise to you. This may be this like, that's weird moment, because again, bringing something forth right now and not necessarily seeing that the energy around you is welcoming it with open arms or positivity, but potentially some energy around you almost trying to sow some doubt, like rain on your parade, if you will. That's either having one or two different impacts on you. This is either that moment that you're having, and especially if you bring this to the feminine, because if you bring this to the feminine, they'll immediately tell you that this is the case. This is energy that is feeling that the reason they don't want you in divine union is because they'll have less access to you. And so we see here that for the masculine energy in this modality right now, this is either that moment of, again, speaking with feminine, opening up about this, moving deeper into divine union with an acknowledgement and potentially the revelation that feminine's giving you, which is almost like, well, of course they don't want you to move into divine union. This has nothing to do with you and I. It has to do with the fact that you will be less accessible. The divine union effectively, again, creating an inside-out approach. You're creating something and they can't come into it. So this is potentially why there's some kind of energy here. Feminine almost now, if masculine comes towards feminine with this, feminine's almost like, let me tell you all about it. Like I told you, feminine was almost like looking at masculine like, of course, like a little bit like, really? You don't realize this? And almost immediately, but it requires the masculine to go forth to the feminine to articulate these things. And feminine's almost like, let me draw it on the board for you. Like, let me like make some charts and graphs here to show you why this is happening. Masculine energy, if you're recognizing this right now, then this is the masculine being like, oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And that's the masculine, again, almost validating and affirming that you are ready to move into divine union with that sense that, like, again, there may be this feeling of recognizing that some doors may be closing around you, some things are happening, their energy might not necessarily be like super happy, but it doesn't matter because what you're creating is so much greater on the inside. It's that moment that it's almost recognizing that you are triggering the abandonment wounds of others as you form the divine union right now. That is almost creating that space for masculine coming into divine union that is almost that point of being like, well, yeah, that's just the way it is. The other part, feminine seeing a masculine in this modality, this literally is that point of amplification and feeling like the divine union just got firmed. It just became real. This is a masculine that is now chosen to hold forth in the manifestation and desire of the divine union, even against the outside energy that may be trying to knock it down or almost like put weight on it. This is like pressure testing the divine union structure, right? And this is the feminine feeling that wave of relief because, again, this is a feminine that realizes and recognizes that this isn't a masculine that's going to walk away from the divine union. This is a masculine that's going to choose the divine union over the doubts and fears of those around them, thereby affirming that this is truly something that they are creating. Now, feminine energy, if in separation, if this was a masculine that got pulled out of divine union vibration due to the outside energy around them, casting doubts and fears on what they were trying to manifest for themselves, this is feminine feeling the full weight of the abandonment wound. This is something where you're trying to maintain a level or degree of positivity in something, trying to find the bright side, but it hurts. It creates that sense of pain. It creates that sense of loss because ultimately this is potentially rising up in the feeling of, again, almost not even being able to articulate and show someone what occurred, but acknowledging that there's something here that feels like it was lost to you, but worse, that it was lost to that energy as well. Like that energy can't fully even see the fact that what they were aspiring to create was something that they were trying to do together, and they let outside forces take it away from them. For the feminine energy, this is almost that moment of feeling the full weight and pressure on something, because we are effectively seeing that for the energy in the modality of separation right now, it's the triggering of the abandonment wound and potentially either recalling moments that this has happened in the past, or feeling the full weight of something that is actively happening right now, of something that came very close to coming into formation and then almost feeling like it was knocked away like a sandcastle, because again, this is potentially a masculine that's too easily influenced by the forces that are around them. It's like that strong wind of the popular opinion being able to knock down the manifestation that the masculine and feminine were trying to create between themselves. But feminine is almost effectively identifying to themselves that that is not something that they can change in the masculine, but it still hurts, because it's that moment that the feminine is feeling the full weight of the masculine not recognizing how something was taken from them. Masculine in separation right now, this is effectively a moment, if this is something that occurred around you or something that is happening right now, that again, masculine, you may be moving away. This could be a masculine that is starting to pull away, that this is the moment that you may have been desiring divine union. You could have even feel yourself shifting back into that frequency right now, because you're feeling like the abandonment wound is the energy around you putting those doubts and fears in. That there's something here that you're afraid to come into divine union, because you're potentially afraid that you're going to miss out on something. That you're not suddenly, it's not that moment you're feeling like you're moving into divine union, like that's the space you want to be. But those doubts, those fears that the amplified around you right now, almost that energy I like to describe like someone pulling up to you in like a Mustang and being like, oh, you want to do that? You're going to meet that. You're going to get like, be a lot cooler if you didn't. This is almost masculine, like not being willing to let go of those possibilities or those opportunities dangled outside of the partnership itself. Some of you might not necessarily feel like, some of you right now are effectively like feeling that like sense of regret, but again, not necessarily wanting to, because you feel like the divine union's taking those possibilities away. For the other part, masculine in separation right now, this is almost that moment that we're identifying that this is something that happened. That you're now kind of recognizing a moment or opportunity where you felt like you were going to miss out on some opportunity if you moved into divine union. You let yourself move out of divine union, and now you potentially feel the full weight of feeling like what you chose was not the right choice, that there's not much something that you're holding on to at this time if in separation. And it may be this acknowledgement right now that is almost like amplifying that feeling of the abandonment wound being triggered, because it's almost amplifying this feeling of potentially making the wrong choice, of potentially having left something behind that was valuable and important for something that you now were holding on to that you feel doesn't necessarily have the promise or the weight that you effectively put towards, and now that you've shifted into this different modality. So for masculine energy and separation right now, there could be a lot of kind of retrospective thinking that's happening right now as it relates to where you find yourself now versus what you may have felt then. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now, third card in our 5-card spread for today is, we love to see this queen in her upright. We've got our Queen of Pentacles here in their upright. We've got stable feminine energy coming in the clutch. This is what's so important, especially for the feminine energy and separation right now. This is a feminine energy that is holding strong in the face of an abandonment wound being triggered. It's not the feeling that there is an abandonment wound being triggered. What is happening here is that something about the feminine energy right now experiencing that abandonment wound is almost the feminine feeling to a certain extent this moment or this opportunity where feminine is feeling the full weight of what they've been creating. This is a feminine that is able to maintain their point of stability. But the problem is, if there is a masculine around a feminine right now that effectively chose something outside of the feminine, there could be this feeling right now of that masculine energy wanting to come back and the feminine being like, you can't come back in. You can't come back in right now, because this is a feminine that is almost amplifying this feeling of, again, this is the stability of a feminine in separation, feeling like they had to hold forth and try to protect something from the energy outside of the union. If this is a masculine that chose to be outside of what the feminine was trying to protect and create right now, it's almost this moment, some of the feminine energy and separation right now, and this is that retrograde knocking on the door. This is feminine energy potentially even experiencing a lot of masculine energy coming towards them at this time with this accountability. Almost saying or trying to articulate and amplify that there was the wrong choice made. And this is almost a feminine energy, potentially in separation, coming into a point of acknowledgement and being like, yes, you did make the wrong choice, but I can't control the choices you made. And it's not something that can potentially, like, again, this is almost a feminine that is amplifying their own state of protectiveness in terms of the fact of feeling like there was an abandonment wound triggered of a masculine moving away from a feminine, and in the middle of them trying to create something, almost on the cusp of divine union forming. And this is a feminine almost having that point of acknowledgement and accountability coming in, being like, yes, that's exactly what happened. There was something here that we were trying to create, and you let yourself be moved away from it. So for feminine energy right now, there is that point of stability, because this is almost the feminine energy coming into a personal sense of acceptance, but also recognizing the value and the triumph of them continuing to hold forth in this way, not allowing that abandonment wound to shake them, but instead really showing how much feminine can do and work to protect within their own sense of stability at this moment, versus this point of reorientation on the past. And this could indicate there's some energy of feminine right now that feels like it's coming towards feminine in a way of trying to have some point of concession, in a way of trying to have some point of accountability, potentially even having to navigate some energy that almost like wants to have a point of acknowledgement to help further the feminine energy's own feeling of stability at this time. Masculine energy in separation right now, that idea that we saw of, again, taking some point of accountability, having some point of reference right now as it relates to something you feel like you may have potentially made the wrong choice on. This is either taking you, again, into this point of amplification of a lesson that feels like it is being learned at a great cost. Because what we are effectively seeing at this time, masculine, you are potentially seeing a manifestation of feminine in a point of stability right now. This is seeming like, again, masculine energy right now with some of this shift that we're seeing even in separation. This is potentially something that you're trying to manifest for yourself at this moment. The problem, masculine energy, with some of this is almost a manifestation that you're now feeling to a certain extent you may have lost or left behind at some point. This point of understanding and recognition that even now this is either a masculine energy that's looking at something from the past that they feel like they made the wrong choice on, and now almost feeling and that sense or overwhelming feeling of loss, almost asking yourself that if you move towards this energy, would they even desire you back at this point, given how much of that damage that may have occurred in the space or place between you moving away from them in that way? Or this is masculine energy taking the weight of that lesson. As I mentioned, having the full weight and breadth of that loss, feeling, again, something that was profoundly important that you may have made the wrong choice on, but now utilizing that lesson to really help you as you move towards new manifestations of feminine that are in this point of stability. But again, this is a lot of internal accountability right now, masculine, and it may be very triggering because there is some kind of manifestation of feminine here that is being articulated on, but it feels to some extent like there is this fear of moving towards them because almost anticipating or fearing what that feminine may say or do at this time that may like further amplify the fact that you kind of already feel to a certain extent like they already have every reason not to let you come towards them. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that if you're having that point of observation, it is that sense of accountability that is coming into play here. For masculine in this modality right now, if this is a moment where outside energy was trying to pull you away from this feminine, and you are truly protecting the divine union, you understand what you're trying to form. This is almost a feminine energy that's giving you a full explanation on what's going on. This is literally almost the feminine. Again, I told you, the divine union almost being like an egg that the feminine's trying to protect. We almost see in this way that this is a feminine that's almost trying to amplify to masculine and say, well, of course they want to, because this is not something that is theirs. This is something that we are creating between ourselves. So this is almost a feminine immediately giving clarification to masculine. If masculine's been bringing feminine these points and saying, like, I don't know why the energy's like this. I'm trying not to be bothered by it, but they seem very oppositional to it. This is almost feminine giving the masculine an immediate response and saying, well, of course they are. This is ours. It's not theirs, it's ours. Masculine, and this is that sense of, again, if you're staying in the divine union frequency, this is going to amplify right now and feel like that fastidiousness, holding on. The priority is the divine union, the stability you're creating with the feminine. And that's okay if anybody is not necessarily as on board with it, because it's that recognition that it's not for them. You're not making it for outside energy. You're moving into divine union because it creates stability for yourself, and you're creating something new where something has not been. Masculine and feminine that are in divine union right now, this is effectively that moment that, again, having to navigate the outside energies. These energies right now are very aligned in terms of the energy coming into divine union and divine union. They're almost on the exact same frequency right now, because what we're effectively seeing here is, again, that feeling of fastidiousness around outside forces is almost reaffirming the commitment on what it is that you are creating. It's almost like making it stronger. It's like feeling like the wind outside the door of the divine union, but almost like building that sense of security and stability, and almost allowing that to be a point of optimism, because even though there may be abandonment wounds are being triggered, there's that point of observation and saying, what can we do to make this stronger? Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our Hierophant in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are in divine union and partnership. This is potentially a moment where you're taking unconventional approaches. You're having these points of allowing oneself to take unconventional approaches, because, again, it is very much like the energy coming into divine union. It is more a question on where one's priorities lie. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now, it's not the fact that there aren't some energy or situations around you right now that are triggering, but it's almost, again, reaffirming the commitment that you have on the divine union partnership. It is doubling down on that to a certain extent, and it's potentially moving away from anything that feels like it isn't necessarily in alignment with the divine union, because it's almost that point of like focusing and isolating on the priorities going forward from this time. Masculine, this is potentially going to feel like a lot of overprotectiveness right now around feminine energy. This is really kind of coming through as like almost like a lot of covetousness to a certain extent. But again, it's allowing that sense of what you're creating with feminine is almost this moment of, again, looking at anything that would try to shake that and be like, well, that's what's got to go. Like, that's the thing that's problematic here, right? And this is a feminine almost being in the same modality, because this is a feminine energy that like really has, like, I have to say, for the energy right now in divine union, this is almost a feminine energy that's really got their head down to a certain extent. This is a feminine energy. It's not that everything's perfect around them. This is a feminine energy that's concentrating on maintaining that point of stability. This is feminine energy that is building that level or degree, if you will, on concentrating on what it is that they're trying to create, not just for the sake of themselves right now, but for the sake of the divine union and partnership. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is the divine union. This is the feminine almost, again, holding the divine union like this like precious egg that they're trying to create right now. And we are seeing that in this modality or in this moment, this is a feminine energy that is seeing, or potentially even in communication with masculine energy, if moving into the divine union frequency, about the energy around them that feels like it is oppositional or trying to pull the divine union apart. This is almost that moment of, again, the energy that's actually coming into divine union is not allowing that to do so. It's not allowing those kernel of doubt to like spread through and contaminate the divine union. It's almost just having that point of observation and saying, listen, we're not doing this for outside energy. We're creating this for ourselves. And if anyone has a problem with it, they can just go fly out the window. Like, it's like they can just, they can just move away. They can just get away from us, because this is that moment that, again, is reaffirming that point related to whether the divine union is the priority or the outside commentary or the outside opinions. This is almost, again, for the energy coming into divine union, it's not the observation that everybody is on board with something. It's almost that moment of not caring. Feminine knows this. Feminine knows that this is something that just happens when you come into divine union. Masculine, if is asking feminine's potentially giving them the full rundown on it, almost giving masculine that point of being like, how do you not see that this is why? Masculine and feminine that are coming into separation over this is going to feel very, 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 very difficult, because this is a feminine energy that is going to immediately, this is how good the feminine's getting right now in healing. This is a feminine energy that, again, the fact that something came so close to divine union is actually why we see that this is a feminine that is not sticking around to potentially try to salvage this to a certain extent, because this is almost a feminine that's like, this is a missing piece here. This is the thing that is missing. If someone can't recognize that they need to do this, feminine's almost saying, I can't make you understand that there's no possibility wherein you try to come into divine union and everybody is going to be over the moon about it. There's always going to be some pushback. There's always going to be some doubt. This is feminine almost immediately closing the door on anything that's in that modality, because this is the feminine being like, you don't have what it takes to protect the divine union. You don't have what it takes to stand, to have like that strength in the force of a strong wind around you that's potentially trying to move your opinion or your decisions. This is a feminine being like, that's fine. You can kind of stay in that modality if that's the case. Feminine's not chasing after the energy if that happens. Feminine's almost just observing it. This could even be a feminine potentially amplifying to a masculine if this just occurred, that this is why there isn't a possibility of them coming into partnership. This is almost a feminine energy, not even potentially trying to explain it, but almost saying that this is a masculine that lacks the integrity around the outside opinions. This could even be feminine probing a little, being like, who have you been speaking to? Where did this come from? Because this is almost a feminine that recognizes and realizes that there's some kind of outside energy here that's affecting it. But feminine also recognize it's not feminine's job to have masculine realize that they need to stay in a point of recognizing the importance and value of holding what you manifest in the face of winds that try to knock it out of your hand. Masculine, if in separation right now, this is a moment potentially observing that this happened. And it may feel very difficult for masculine energy in this modality right now, because it may be shifting your opinions around some of the energy around you at this moment, because there's a point right now of personal accountability that's starting to shift out in terms of the energy. And there is potentially a moment right now that, again, you may have felt like you made a choice of choosing what you felt was the option for you away from partnership. And now you may feel like that accessibility point has now like been taken from you. It's almost like potentially for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now, this feeling of frustration and personal accountability, because you may feel like there's some kind of energy that you desire to move towards right now, but you don't feel like it's even possible. Because this feminine energy that's like working in this way, it's like the stability that they've created around themselves to a certain extent is almost a fortress from the harm that you effectively inflicted when you moved away from them. For masculine energy right now, again, this is that moment of observation in the breaking of some kind of union in that capacity as it relates to the possibility of something that may have felt like it was going to create a lot of stability for you in your own life at this time. And for masculine energy, though, this is going to feel like a bittersweet lesson, because this is masculine energy right now that is potentially not just making adjustments in their own life right now, but also some of the adjustments in the energy that's around you at this time as you start to move towards what feels like a stable feminine energy. So for masculine in this modality right now, we do see that there is a point of action that is occurring, And that point of action is, again, moving towards a feminine from the past with a point of accountability on what potentially prevented that divine union from occurring, having that point of observation, trying to give them that clarity and seeing and recognizing what may have occurred. Or this is potentially masculine energy right now that is acknowledging and recognizing, making these adjustment points in their own life, separating themselves from any of the energy that they feel may have potentially robbed them of the possibility of having that divine union in the first place. Continuing to get clarification, fifth card in our 5-card spread for today. We've got here 9 of Wands in its upright, masculine and feminine energy and divine union and partnership. This is that covetousness that we see that's happening. This is that protectiveness. This is that fastidiousness that we see that masculine is taking right now as it relates to some of the feminine energy. Masculine is being very conscientious right now, feminine energy, if in divine union and partnership, in terms of feeling like, as he said, wanting to effectively protect this feminine energy to a certain degree from anything around the feminine that feels like it may create a challenge or a challenging space in the divine union. For masculine right now, this is like, again, really coming through at a point of the masculine almost articulating their own doubts and fears at this time. And I have to stress, there's something about this that could be feeling very triggering for the energy in this modality, because what we're effectively seeing at this time is the masculine energy and in divine union is navigating spaces or places where they want to like build this like safe space for the feminine. And it's not necessarily feeling like this point of the masculine being able to do so to the full capacity that they would aspire to, especially because we see here that for masculine energy, it's almost requiring them to take some kind of unconventional approaches, if you will. And for masculine, one of the things that we're seeing right now, potentially that's happening, and I have to express this because this may be feeling a little overwhelming for the masculine energy in divine union at this time, is almost this point of recognizing and acknowledging how much one cares for the feminine energy. It's almost this point of acknowledging, and it's going to feel like it's almost kind of beautiful because for the energy in divine union right now, it's almost this moment that masculine is almost amplifying that it really doesn't matter what else happens around them at this time. As long as the feminine is with them, the masculine feels like that is their home. And the problem that we are seeing right now for the masculine in this modality and why we see it may be triggering is because this is a masculine that's putting so much care, so much concern, so much weight on this feminine that it almost like is inspiring a little bit of that anxiety and fear, because we are effectively identifying here that this is a masculine that like is feeling right now the full force of how much that feminine is. This is literally masculine in divine union saying like, you are my home. You are my home. Feminine, if in divine union right now, you could be seeing something around this right now on the part of the masculine. And we're actually seeing right now for the feminine in this modality right now, that this is feminine actually coming through a moment that this point is feeling very grounding to them. And one of the things that we see has been helping the feminine energy in divine union, it's not the fact that there haven't been situations and circumstances from the past rising back up that the feminines had to like, I'm saying like almost do some like weight training, like spiritual and emotional weight training on right now. What we're effectively seeing is this is a feminine energy that is feeling that grounding force, because this is not just a masculine energy that is desiring of the feminine. We see here that this is a feminine that's almost acknowledging a masculine that is so protective. It's like the love that the feminine's experiencing in divine union right now is coming from a heightened sense of protectiveness that almost borders on like a bit of anxiety, but that's almost to the feminine. Something about this right now feels like it's very grounding, because it's almost recognizing and seeing that if this masculine energy is feeling a little triggered, it's due to the masculine caring so much about the feminine, and in a way that's almost further amplifying to the feminine their own sense of stability and their own almost affirmation to the masculine right now is, I'm not going anywhere. You are also my home. This is what is important. I am protecting the divine union at all costs. Masculine and feminine that are moving into divine union and partnership right now. There is this point of observation that's effectively occurring right now as it relates to coming into divine union, which is feeling a lot of this energy. And again, this is either going to make or break you coming into the divine union frequency, depending on what masculine energy does in this space, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is a feminine energy that is seeing, witnessing. Feminine always feels this. Feminine knows that this is the deal. Feminine's like, I was built for this. Feminine's like, the divine union is at this point that I need to protect the divine union at all cost, right? Feminine's in that modality. The more important question for feminine is, are you strong enough to do so? Feminine is looking at the masculine energy right now and saying, are you also strong enough? Are you strong enough to be in this divine union with me? Or are you going to let these winds pull you away? Are you going to let those outside opinions pull you away? Are you going to let those energies that don't necessarily feel like the divine union is in their best interest lure you out of divine union? Or are you on the inside? Are you in here with me? Are you inside? This is literally feminine looking at masculine right now and being like, are you in or are you out? And for the feminine energy that's experiencing this right now, just as we saw with the energy of the divine unions that are already in divine union, this is the affirmation that they are getting with the masculine that says, you are my home. Everything else can just go suck an egg. Because the divine union is the priority. This is feminine immediately seeing a masculine in this modality that's almost saying, forget what other people think. Forget what that person says. I don't care what those people say. This is where I want to be. I want to be on this side with you. And this is a masculine that, again, potentially is getting in that same vibration that we see that the masculine in divine union is, because they're on the same frequency around the fact of feeling very overly protective of the feminine, even potentially to the point of being triggered. Masculine, feminine seeing this right now, if you're coming into divine union, this is going to feel like, much like we saw with the feminine energy in divine union right now, a wave of stability coming in. Feeling incredibly grounded and stable, because this is seeing some kind of recognition that allows you to concentrate on what you're creating. Also recognizing that this is a masculine that is effectively protecting you as you do so, regardless of the energy that's around you. Feminine energy, if in separation, if this is a masculine energy that was pulled away from you, but at the last moment, almost like at the last moment, this is going to feel really frustrating for some feminine energy, because there's almost that moment that you could feel the divine union forming. You could taste it. It was so close to happening, but it was never going to happen. This is almost the feminine energy feeling that point of accountability, of saying it was so close to happening, but it was never going to happen. Because this is a feminine that recognizes that that commitment, that ability to hold a strong pillar, to be a pillar in the face of the energy around you trying to get you to do something that is more accommodating to them. Feminine realizes that that is the most important aspect of coming into divine union. Anything else is just a pipe dream. Anything else is just a romance novel. Anything else is just like a flight of fancy. To be able to actually hold on to the divine union in the face of the energy around you, having those points of opposition, or feeling like you're missing out on something, or feeling like there's some kind of opportunity lost in the wake of it. Feminine's like, if you don't recognize that that's something that is required for the divine union, feminine's like, I can't help you, because you're not going to put you're never going to put the divine union as the highest priority. You're always going to be in that other space. And this is feminine, again, just focusing, literally recalling their energy right now and saying, that's what I need to be able to move in divine union. And feminine energy almost saying, I need that, or I don't need anything. That or nothing. Not that or nothing, if you will. Like, that's almost where we see the feminine energy in separation right now is feeling. And this is a feminine energy that's just almost doubling down on building their own stability for themselves, if in this modality. Just channeling all of that energy right back to themselves, and just working and creating that within the self. Building that sense of stability as they continue forward, even in the face of that, but almost taking a lot of accountability and feeling like having that acknowledgement is a point of surrender. because that's that point of the feminine in separation, acknowledging and seeing something in a way that they almost feel like the energy that was so close to having that divine union with them was even blind to. And that's what's so hard about it. Masculine in separation right now, this is that point that the personal accountability around some situations and circumstances from the past is effectively amplifying to seeing things around those situations with eyes that you did not have at the time that they occurred. It's that clarity of self that is creating a new optic for you on how you are addressing circumstances and situations from the past that may be feeling very overwhelming and heavy right now. Because this is, again, feeling like there could have been a moment that you're seeing masculine, you're acknowledging this is either something that just happened, or this is something that happened in the past where you may realize that you were very close to coming into divine union and you let go. You let that energy go. But worse, it's almost this point of acknowledging that something about a blind spot within you. It's not just the fact that you let it go. It's potentially feeling like you were influenced to do so, that was potentially oppositional to your own desire. So for masculine energy in this modality right now, there is a moment now of, again, some point of reassessing a connection of feminine in the past that is amplifying the situation that's currently around you right now. And it's that moment that we're effectively seeing that is almost building that deeper lesson. Because again, a difficulty, something that is seen is something that can be corrected. And so it is that point of observation that is potentially happening right now that is almost, again, elevating some of that past energy to the point that, again, feeling like even if something was lost to you, there is an incredibly important gift that energy has given to you, even in the wake of that loss. And how you're navigating that going forward is effectively, again, whether you're taking this as a moment of accountability, trying to go forward toward that feminine energy and say to them, I see what you've given me here. I understand what you were trying to show me. I've now found it within myself. Or this is masculine energy that is taking that lesson to be able to manifest this grounded feminine energy as they go forward from this point. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 5 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our 5 of Pentacles. Double 5s today, guys. Heavy energy. Triggering energy. May I please have one card to clarify, clarification coming through right now with our 3 of Cups. Masculine and feminine in divine union and partnership right now. This is good. It's not the fact that you're having these points right now that are feeling triggering. And it may not also be, again, this moment or accountability right now of energy outside of the divine union that needs to be navigated. We saw that coming through right now. It is that moment or that point in terms of feeling right now, especially for the energy in divine union. Look, you're either on one side or the other. You're either with us or you're against us. You're either moving in the flow of the divine union energy, or you can just stay outside. This is giving a lot of that like take it or leave it energy right now for the energy coming into divine union. And what's nice about it is masculine and feminine, they're not really caring. The divine union doesn't really care so much about the energy around them right now because, again, the focus is on the stability of the divine union. Divine masculine and feminine, letting that in a way help them through any circumstances that are effectively triggering them at this time. Because again, this is almost masculine and feminine saying the joy that we create within, via ourselves is greater than anything around us. It's almost that point of observation here. And again, the energy in divine union already kind of knows this. This is finding the joy through the hardship. That the divine union energy is able to understand, because this is masculine and feminine and divine union right now that generate their own joy. It's not something they have to chase after outside of the partnership itself. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is that moment that we are seeing, is that point of optics as to whether you're on the inside or you're outside. Masculine, you're feeling this weight right now. And masculine, this is that point of consideration that's either going to snap you, keep you in the divine union frequency, or snap you right back out. Are you looking right now at the partnership as the source of joy, as the source of abundance? Or are you feeling like the divine union is making you miss out? Is it creating a confining space? Is it feeling like you're missing all of the fun? There's something right now I have to stress right now for the masculine energy and feminine that are trying to come into divine union. It's like that pull, right? It's that outside pull of energy trying to like pull you away from the divine union. That's really going to kind of like build this like make or break point right now as it relates to identifying where you feel like your joy is incarnate. Is it incarnating in the divine union that you're creating right now? Or do you feel like it's pulling you away from that? Masculine and feminine that are staying in the divine union frequency, you're in the same frequency of the energy of the divine union, which is saying the party's in here. It's not out there. The party's in here. The divine union. The party is in the divine union. It's not outside of the divine union. And that is what is amplifying the fact that this is almost a feeling of celebration, specifically for a feminine that is seeing this on the part of a masculine, because this is a feminine actually feeling like the divine union's forming, because the masculine is choosing the divine union beyond the outside temptation. Masculine, if you're in this modality right now, it's almost like you don't have any, you don't feel, it's like water off a duck's back. You're like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I feel like there's potential. There's even an observation point being like, I feel like there's a bunch of energy that's missing out on me. Masculine and feminine that are in separation right now, feminine, you're experiencing masculine, made the other choice. And that is a feminine energy that's almost like, if that's what your choice is, you can stay out. This is a feminine energy of experiencing that. If feminine felt a moment of masculine being pulled away from them by the lure of outside energy, tempting a masculine, this is a feminine energy saying you made your choice. They made their choice. They chose the outside energies. They chose that as opposed to creating the force of the internal divine union. And for feminine, that is almost amplifying to feminine. This is coming, the feminine in separation, almost coming into a good riddance kind of modality. Almost saying that there's something here of the feminine feeling like they save themselves from something, because this is effectively recognizing a masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels aligned to, that they feel would always have made that choice. And this is feminine energy, almost again amplifying this by moving right now and building that supportive system of energy around them that is also affirming their own choice to like move in that modality. Masculine in separation right now, this is that moment of observation potentially around some circumstances and situations from the past. Feeling, again, there may have been a moment that you felt like you made the choice of choosing joy, but something about that joy you chose may feel somewhat hollow and empty now. And further, it may be feeling like that energy, you may be almost feeling these like triggers of anger towards some of that outside energy, because you may feel now like there was almost something intentional about them pulling you away from something at a moment that you shouldn't have been pulled away from. And almost the masculine feeling like there's something here that was lost because of that energy pulling you in that direction. So that may be a bit of a challenging space right now for some of the masculine experiencing that modality right now. Continuing to get clarification on these cards between our 5 of Pentacles in combination with our Queen of Pentacles. May I please have one card to clarify? Look at all these pentacles. We've got here our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. Feminine is all about that bag today. Feminine is all about that bag. A lot of care and concentration right now on building stability in this moment. A lot of that energy. Feminine is like cannot be bothered. Feminine cannot be bothered right now with anything that doesn't feel like it's all about that business right now. And that's going to be anything that's not necessarily monetary. It's anything that feels like it's creating stability for the feminine, because this is feminine literally almost over doubling down right now. Feminine has some anxiety, some kind of abandonment wound that's being triggered right now. Feminine's pushing through the abandonment wound. But what did we say the feminine was doing? Grounding on reality. Grounding on putting that effort and energy in what makes them feel grounded. Feminine is almost getting fastidious on this right now and focusing on that, pouring all of their energy and effort into it. Feminine just needs to be a little conscientious right now of not overly exhausting themselves by trying to do everything at once or trying to get everything done. Because this is almost, again, that's like that squirrel energy of feminine trying to do over like as much as possible to navigate some feelings of anxiety about like what's coming forward. Masculine, you may be seeing the feminine in this modality right now, being very, very over-focused right now on tangible. But for masculine, we are seeing in a certain way, you're almost mirroring the feminine in this way, because there's something about the outside situations and circumstances that are happening right now that are making you feel very covetous and protective of the feminine energy. Almost, again, building that sense of appreciation of wanting to like build a safe space for a feminine as they continue forward in this capacity. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is that moment that if the masculine staying in the divine union frequency, it's almost that point of observation. This is masculine saying, if in divine union right now, this is a masculine that is feeling very covetous of feminine. This is a masculine that's almost feeling very protective of that energy, specifically due to the fact that there's energy right now that potentially feels like it's trying to pull the masculine away from the feminine. So if the masculine staying in the divine union frequency right now, all of those doubts, any of that energy that's trying to like lure the masculine away from this feminine, this is a masculine potentially with like those optics and seeing it in this fashion, and potentially even taking some level or degree of offense at this time, getting very defensive and potentially calling it out. And this could lead to some triggering incidents right now. So make sure that you're moving in intentionality, masculine, because this is almost a masculine being like, I told you, like this, what did I say? I was saying yesterday, did I stutter? This is almost masculine doubling down and being like, I want the divine union. I'm choosing the divine union. You're not pulling me away from this energy. Feminine seeing a masculine doing this in this modality right now as the divine union's forming. This is feminine feeling that wave of relief. This wave of relief, because this is seeing the masculine actually putting their money where their mouth is. This is the masculine actually like pushing away from things that are trying to pull them away from the feminine. And almost telling immediately the feminine that that is occurring. Masculine and feminine that are in separation right now, this is why, potentially. This may have just happened. If this is a feminine that, again, feels, and this is a feminine potentially feeling the full frustration on something. And now, potentially, even a feminine trying to articulate to a masculine, trying to say, can you see what they did? Can you see what they did? Because this is a feminine that is feeling that trigger if in separation right now. And this is the feminine energy just recognizing and committing their effort and energy back to themselves in the face of the abandonment wound. But again, feeling the frustration. The abandonment wound for feminine is, again, feeling like there was a moment that they felt like that divine union was so close and it was taken away from them. And this is the feminine energy that's just working on grounding themselves in that moment, because it's almost that point of observation of the feminine feeling like the energy around them chose outside energy as opposed to the feminine. Did not choose to protect the feminine in that moment, but instead, let the energy pull them away and leave that feminine kind of holding the bag, if you will. Masculine in separation right now, this is that point of observation that may be feeling very hard, because there could be a moment right now where you want to give forth to a feminine that was in this modality now. There may be something here where now that you see something in a different way, you want to give forth towards them, but it's almost this anxiety or fear as to whether they'd be willing to receive it at this time. There could be a feeling right now for a lot of the masculine energy and separation of feeling a little bit like too little, too late, of seeing a feminine in this modality, but almost feeling that weight or pressure that this feminine might not necessarily be willing to receive something now because it wasn't being offered when they really needed it most. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Queen of Pentacles in combination with our Hierophant. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with the Hermit. Masculine and feminine right now in divine union and partnership. There's just this moment. This is masculine and feminine. This could be feeling like very like masculine and feminine in divine union right now. Almost like not really feeling that need or desire to be out, to be about. Like it's almost like this feeling of wanting to cloister in to a certain extent. This could even talk about like changing or shifting plans right now, wanting to come out of some kind of obligations that you've set forth right now. Feminine's just like almost trying to work on grounding to a certain extent, wanting to be in that space or place of being grounded. Masculine, you may also be feeling this to a certain extent, potentially seeing some kind of feminine energy right now that like is wanting to focus on building that sense of stability more than anything. And it's going to almost feel like a lot of that, like, I want to say that homebound energy, if you will, right now. So we see, in a way, masculine and feminine in this modality right now. You're effectively reflecting and amplifying this. This is almost like saying, like, you may have obligations, but you may almost like wish that you could just like kind of stay in, if you will. Masculine and feminine that are moving into divine union right now, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. What we're effectively seeing at this moment is, again, a point of observation wherein we are recognizing that masculine, you may be feeling like you just, again, this is masculine pushing away from any of the outside obligations right now, especially the energy that may be feeling like they're trying to pull them away from the feminine at this time. Masculine, if it's coming into divine partnership right now or divine union frequency, is almost saying like, my obligation is to the feminine. And the masculine, like, almost coming into the space of identification of this, of clarity. And it may feel like a point of the masculine, like feeling to a certain extent like they have to articulate this. Even at the risk, we're seeing, of masculine feeling like they may isolate themselves from some energy right now. And again, leading to that point of masculine almost being like, I'm okay with that. I don't care if I have to break an obligation due to the fact that I'm coming into this union with feminine. This is masculine almost observing and coming into a point of identifying and saying, that's fine, because that's where the obligation is. And masculine almost having a better sense of understanding and optics on what is effectively occurring right now. Feminine, if you're seeing a masculine in this modality, you're probably feeling like masculine's being like, oh, yeah. And it's like, feminine's like, really? Like, it's almost the feminine being like, this was as obvious to the feminine as like the nose on their face. For masculine, it's like coming through as this like, oh, moment. And feminine's like, really? But again, feminine realizing this right now is seeing the fact that the masculine is not necessarily choosing the outside obligations. The masculine is choosing the connection with the feminine. It is reaffirming that connection. And in that way, shape, or form, the feminine is feeling amplified and secure in going forward in this capacity. Masculine and feminine that are in separation right now, this is effectively why you're in separation. Feminine, you are potentially feeling right now that there is a masculine that lacks the commitment. They lack the ability to stay committed to what it is that they're truly trying to create. But this is feminine that, again, while there's that weight of feeling that right now, this is a feminine that is holding forward in terms of what it is that they're trying to manifest, because they're just trying to manifest that divine union for themselves at this time. And for feminine, it's more about this moment of hoping that either the masculine energy will come into that deeper understanding of what occurred to build that sense of optics. This is a feminine that's almost like holding out hope, even in a moment of separation, that masculine will like have that like light bulb go off and realize what effectively occurred, so that masculine can come forward and heal something. But at the same time, feminine isn't allowing themselves to stay complacent waiting for masculine to do so. This is a feminine that says, I can wait for that masculine to come into that point of realization, but I'm not going to continue to hold forth forever to do so. I'm just going to continue to build my own sense of stability as I go forward from this point. Masculine energy in separation. This is that moment that you may be having some point of clarity coming into some situations and circumstances that you didn't necessarily have in the past. And we see here, for masculine energy in this modality right now, this is that moment of effectively wanting to take some point of accountability. This could even be masculine energy right now, looking back or checking back on some energy from the past. Maybe I have to stress masculine energy. This could feel a little bit like you're doing this, like not necessarily like in like the full light of day. This is feeling more like kind of checking on energy without like coming towards them, because we almost see here that for the masculine in this modality, some of this is masculine trying to see if the feminine energy in this modality is actually in a commitment or not. This is literally masculine looking in, if in separation, on some of this energy potentially from the past to ascertain if that energy is in commitment or not, to help amplify and clarify their own decision on how to proceed forward. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Hierophant in its reversal in combination with our Nine of Wands. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Eight of Pentacles. Masculine and feminine in divine union right now. This is all about getting to work. This is just focusing on the task at hand. And we see here more than anything, it is requiring some unconventional approaches. But we really identify this is that point of optics, especially as it relates to any of the energy around the partnerships right now, which is identifying and looking and saying, like, is it coming towards us from a state of being productive? Or is it something that we just need to stray or stay away from? This is like amplifying right now as it relates to this energy. And it's really kind of helping build almost like this like binary as it relates to like what the masculine and feminine are going to proceed forward with going forward from this point. Masculine is feeling very like fastidious on divine union right now. Masculine is feeling the weight of anything that may feel like it is a threat to that energy. And masculine is almost, again, just trying to identify what feels like they need to protect or guard against versus spaces and places that feel like they're fostering a better productivity of the divine union. Feminine is effectively just wanting to kind of stay in right now and break any of the commitments because there's a lot of work here that the feminine feels like they need to do. So this is the feminine being in a very practical space right now in divine union. Masculine and feminine, again, I could see a lot of plans adjusting or changing or people just wanting to stay in, if you will. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, this is that point of really identifying whether the divine union is going to stay in the frequency, because this is, again, the feeling the weight of energy, the pressure, the part divine union is being pressure tested by the outside energy to see if it's going to be able to be pulled apart here. And this is feminine and masculine energy, again, much like the energy already in divine union, ascertaining and saying, is this something that feels like it's going to change? Or is this just energy that we need to stay away from going forward because they're always going to be in that modality, right? This is almost like that cultivation of the energy around the divine union to ascertain if this is something that feels like a momentary point of pressure, something that was like accidentally said or accidentally put forth, like something that can change, or something that needs to be avoided entirely. Feminine in separation right now, this is feeling the weight of a masculine that just potentially allowed a divine union that was coming very close to forming to be broken away because of the force of the outside energy around it. And this is a feminine energy that is now feeling like that full amplification of weight in terms of the fact of feminine feeling like the work that they were doing in terms of coming into divine union was effectively like, like stolen from them. It was taken away. And for feminine right now, this is almost recommitting their own efforts right now. And again, having this be a point of feminine building a sense of stability for themselves and recognizing that this was not an error on their part. This was more them feeling like they did feminine is almost washing their hands karmically and saying, I did everything I could do. They could not protect it. This is an energy that says the feminine is almost acknowledging and saying, I did everything I could do to protect a divine union. The energy simply was not strong enough to protect what I was trying to create. And that is effectively a moment that we recognize that feminine is allowing that to be a point of feeling, a point of affirmation, because this is feminine saying, what I have done once, I can do again. Masculine, if in separation right now, this is potentially taking that point of accountability. This is potentially seeing a feminine that you now recognize. You may feel like the energy around you pulled you away from them. And you're now potentially seeing how much a feminine energy tried to do to avoid that from happening. All of the steps that they may have tried to do to help you almost see this for yourself. The problem is for a lot of the masculine energy and separation right now, this is feeling like it may have come a little too late, like the damage was already done. And for some of the masculine energy right now, this is that weight in looking in terms of seeing if something can be fixed, or if someone is too hurt from the place that you left them in that modality to allow for something to come back into a state of easement. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Cups in combination with our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now This is potentially feeling like some point of overstress or pressure as it relates to social obligations right now. This is almost a moment I'm seeing that for the divine union energy right now, it's just more of the fact of like not necessarily wanting to commit to social obligations right now. This could be feeling like just that like feeling of just feeling like it's been like a long week. It's giving this like, it's a Saturday that feels like a Sunday, if you will. It's just wanting to have that point of easement, but almost for a lot of the masculine and feminine energy right now, it is potentially feeling like you have socially obligated yourself to stuff right now. And it's like that point of feeling the weight of that commitment. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now, it's not going to be as easy. It's not going to be as easy because this is that moment that is almost feeling like it is not so much about overcommitting to outside things. It is the commitment to outside energy that is putting pressure on the formation of the divine union. This is that moment of feeling like the outside energy is trying to pull people away from the divine union being formed. And it's all going to be about whether you can stay in that modality, is like almost that thanks but no thanks, if you will, potentially happening here, building that sense or level of degree of really amplifying where the priority is. If this is a circumstance or situation wherein you feel like this is where your center is key right now. Masculine and feminine, this is that moment that we see. It's like the feminine is much more in that modality right now of choosing the divine union. Feminine is holding on to that center, if you will, of what they want to build for the divine union. Masculine, this is that point of observation and feminine may feel more like this point of like, again, this could be triggering to the feminine because this is like any of the energy around the masculine is trying to pull them away from it. It's almost like note taken, right? That's more than anything that what the feminine's doing right now, if this is occurring, and if masculine is putting forth to the feminine that this is in fact happening. Masculine energy, if staying in the divine union energy, this is you choosing the divine union over the outside obligations and seeing them as such. Your eyes are open. It's not looking like something where you're feeling like this energy is luring you towards it and feeling like that's a direction you want to go into. It's almost that feeling of, again, feeling triggered and being like you're trying, like it's not just feeling like this is something that's casual. It's almost taking it personal to a certain extent and being like, why are you doing this? Like, why would you try to do this? Like, it's almost taking it almost as a point of offense and saying, like, you're trying to take my happiness from me. So this is, again, feminine, masculine getting very overly protective, potentially of staying in the divine union frequency of anything that feels like it's trying to pull the divine union apart. Feminine energy in separation right now, this is feeling that amplitude potentially towards any energy that did this to you. It's almost, again, for feminine, it is that point of acknowledging or potentially looking at an energy right now, if in separation, and feeling that sense of profound frustration because you can potentially see or feel like a lot of the energy around someone just destroyed their possibility of you having a divine union with them, but you feel like you can't tell that person. Because to tell that person would effectively amplify the fact of what they effectively said to destroy the divine union in the first place. It's an unwinnable situation, right? It's a feminine being like, I can't do anything to fix it because someone's already drank the Kool-Aid. It's like you already drank the Kool-Aid on something. I can't tell you just drank the Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? Masculine in separation right now, this could be an observation point that you drank the Kool-Aid. This could be an observation point now, and this is why it could feel triggering to masculine going through this right now, is it's changing or shifting your own perception on some of the energy around you if this occurred, because now it's not looking like energy that was just trying to have some fun with you. It's almost looking like this is energy that feels like it took something from you. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Hermit. May I please have one card to clarify? Hangman in its reversal. We love this. So again, I gotta stress, any masculine and feminine in divine union and partnership right now, this is just speaking, this is going to feel a lot easier. It's going to feel a lot lighter because this is just wanting to get out of obligations. This is just wanting to get out of anything that you've effectively committed yourself to right now. This is almost like just saying like, no, I don't feel like it. Like, so it's not as heavy. It's heavy if you're coming into divine union. it's going to feel a lot heavier if you're coming into divine union. Because coming into divine union, this is feeling like there's energy around you trying to pull the divine union apart. And this is almost this, again, for the energy staying in divine union, this is almost choosing to like isolate. This is, again, potentially even like, again, also abandoning outside commitments right now and saying like thanks but no thanks, especially if some of those outside commitments seemed like they were coming from a position where they felt like they were trying to like poke holes in the divine union forming. The energy that's in separation, this occurred. Someone popped your balloon. Someone popped a hole in like the divine union that was forming. For the feminine, this is feminine realizing that happened. But almost feminine saying to themselves, if energy could do that, if energy could shake and break what we were creating, there was no possibility of that staying in the divine union frequency. This is almost feminine coming to a point of being like, it was an illusion. It was not real, because this masculine lacked the ability to hold forth on something that we could. This is almost feminine being like, we could have had something that was like strong, but instead it was ephemeral. Instead it was smoke. Instead it was something, it was like the egg was a balloon and you let someone pop it. And so for the feminine, this is almost that moment of, again, something that was so close to being real disappearing in a puff, that but at the same time is amplifying to feminine and having that point of optics, and almost the feminine recognizing that there was not a lack of ability on their part, it was a lack of someone else to protect something that was being created. Masculine, if in separation right now, this could be a reconsideration of something that occurred and why it occurred the way that it did. That's happened with a sense of personal solitude. You're seeing things from a different perspective right now. You're seeing something that you may have felt you made the intentional choice on that now feels more like something that was taken away from you. And this is that moment that we see that is almost freeing the masculine energy up to proceed forward wiser. It's that wisdom and that clarity, and it's going to feel sobering. It feels heavy. This is like some lead weight kind of energy coming in to the masculine in separation right now. It's like older and wiser. And having received that point of optics is almost building that affirmation that you can't never go back to that circumstance and situation the same way. You just have to proceed forward. And even if that's proceeding forward back to the energy, it's coming from a point that feels a lot more sobering. It feels a lot like, again, it's like the kind of energy where you can obviously see that someone has deeply changed. Feminine, this is moving forward. This is allowing you. This acknowledgement, again, is similarly sobering, heavy, like an anchor. But it also feels like profoundly like it's freeing you to be able to go forward, because this is that point of acknowledging that something that you did once, you can do again. Clarification between Hermit card in combination with our 8 of Pentacles. May I please have one card in clarification? 2 of Swords. Masculine and feminine. This is talking about obligations right now. This is what you want to do today. This is like feeling like you have a lot of work to do, wanting to be more in a point of isolation and solitude, and feeling like you're torn about how to navigate those circumstances and situations. This could be feeling like a lot of obligations right now, masculine and feminine, but that need or desire to like need some time in solitude to get some things done that may be feeling like you need to have some point of adjustment. Masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union right now. This is that weight. This is looking right now at some of the energy around you if you're coming into divine union and almost putting up some boundaries. This is now creating boundaries right now and almost like getting a little bit more insular with the energy of the divine union, because there's been some kind of observation, if you're staying in this modality right now, of feeling like you have to get kind of overly protective on the divine union that's forming because of some of that outside energy that you feel wasn't necessarily like all that happy to see that it was forming. Masculine and feminine that let that outside energy pull you back out of divine union. What we are effectively seeing right now is that moment of, again, deep understanding. feminine saw it. Feminine saw it coming. Feminine was being cautious if this is something that just occurred. Feminine is trying not to let themselves get overly upset about it. Feminine's almost trying to come right back out of the abandonment wound, because this is a feminine that was like, I saw that this was going to occur. And that point of feminine recognizing and knowing what was happening in a way is helping the feminine heal faster, because the feminine was like, I could see this was going to happen from a mile away. And that sense of acknowledgement, sense of personal clarity, is almost reaffirming feminine's own commitment or ability in terms of how they're able to create this for themselves. And feminine almost saying to themselves again, what I can do once, I can do again. I just need to find energy that's more committed to creating what we're actually trying to create. Masculine in separation right now. This is the clarity of hindsight coming a little too late. This is seeing something in a way that you didn't see something before. And it is a moment that may feel more like a crossroads for the masculine in this modality, because what you do with this information of the self is effectively going to shape how you proceed forward from this point. But it is also starting with an acknowledgement in terms of the boundaries that you'll be creating around the energy around you right now, because there's a feeling that there's something that was taken from you that wasn't necessarily entirely your desire, but more someone else putting their thumbprint on you and having you have that point of adjustment, changing something that you didn't necessarily even recognize was being changed. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Hangman in its reversal. May I please get one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our World card. Now, masculine and feminine that are in divine union right now. This is a small potatoes problem. This is feeling like this is more of a momentary point. It's not feeling as overwhelming. It's just that moment that we're effectively seeing wherein it's like the best worst problem. This is masculine and feminine feeling like there's so much happening around them in divine union that they can't be everywhere at once. They can't do everything. If anything, it's almost masculine and feminine being like, there's too much cake. Like there's too much cake. There are too many things to do. And almost like wanting to create that sense or that ability to try to free oneself up is like the end goal to a certain extent. But even then, this is feeling like that overwhelm. It feels like the best worst problem, because it feels like it's like the consequences of having a full, robust life. Masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union right now. This is pushing away from things. This is not looking at things outside of the energy of the partnership. If staying in the divine union frequency, they're not temptation zones. That outside energy isn't tempting you out of the divine union. You're almost saying, I'm good. Thanks, but no thanks. Not even taking the bait to a certain extent and being like, I'm no longer interested in those things. I'm not interested in what you're offering. I have everything that I need here. Both energies, again, coming into alignment in divine union, and masculine and feminine almost equally feeling that sense of like the outside energy in a way, right? This is where we see that this becomes the fortification of the divine union. It's almost strengthening the energy of the divine union if coming into this modality, because now it's almost feeling like masculine and feminine are feeling to a certain extent like it's them against the world, right? It's almost like them saying, like, as long as we protect our center, we have everything that we need. That's the divine union. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is why the feminine is coming out of this as quickly as they are. Feminine is not letting themselves get caught in this mentality. Because what do I keep saying that the feminine is saying to themselves right now? This wasn't something that feminine considers a failure point. This feels like feminine looking and saying that the energy that they were trying to build something with wasn't effectively strong enough to withstand the social pressure put on them in terms of coming into divine union. So this is feminine affirming. The affirmation for the feminine in separation right now is, what I can do once, I can do again. Because this isn't a feminine that feels like they erred in this way. This is a feminine that just feels like they weren't trying to build something with energy that had that same level or degree of endurance. Masculine in separation right now. This is that point of understanding of the self. And again, it is a moment that is building a sense of clarity, but it may be feeling at a point of deep loss. So it could be feeling somewhat sobering, because this is that moment of saying, I understand now. I understand what I need to do. I understand what I need to change. I understand what I need to walk away from to come into that state. And it's all about what you do in that moment that's going to amplify how you proceed. Clarification between our hangman in its reversal in combination with our two of swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 5 of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in divine union right now. It's just more about the fact that you're feeling a little exhausted. This is just feeling right now, again, for masculine and feminine, there's just kind of this observation point in terms of feeling like what is giving back what you're putting into it. And this may be this is like feeling like minor calibrations, okay? This is feeling like adjusting the dials a little bit on your own life, like fine-tuning it to make sure that there's something around you right now that feels like it is reciprocal, and it may require some points of modification and adjustment as to where you're putting your time, effort, and energy right now. This could also be, again, some energy pulling out of some obligations today or some social obligations, simply because there is this need to like recall your energy, if you will. There's a feeling right now of, again, just wanting to come into that state or space of easement. Masculine and feminine that are coming into divine union right now, this is the boundaries that you are now setting to protect the union. This is protecting that energy of the divine union that's forming by effectively, again, seeing, and now it's more of a question of whether the energy around you right now will come into a state of balance in terms of feeling like they'll be able to acknowledge and be reciprocal to the divine union, or if it's something that you need to walk away from. Masculine and feminine are almost like taking a wait and see approach to see if the energy around them shifts out of any modality, if it was trying to put pressure on the divine union in terms of breaking away. This is masculine and feminine almost like laying those boundaries and saying, you can't cross here. That's a bridge too far. You can't say that. You can't do that. This is what we're choosing. Feminine in separation right now, this is where we see that feminine's got some heavy guards up right now around any energy that this may have happened with. Because this is a feminine energy that is feeling the full weight of energy that didn't feel like ultimately it could be reciprocal to the feminine. And this is feminine almost recalling their own energy from something, because we see here that this is a feminine that's almost immediately walking. If this is something that just happened, this is a feminine energy that said, you've just shown me that you don't have what it takes to choose the divine union over the energy around you that's tempting you away from the divine union at every moment. This is something that you've effectively shown me, that you lack the care and capacity of maintaining a point of consistency in terms of what you say that you desire versus the pressure of outside energy. This is a feminine looking at a masculine that can say all they want, that they want to be in divine union, but like the minute any kind of energy like pulls their back of their shirt, masculine's just like drifting off in the opposite direction. There's no conviction here. Someone lacks that conviction. Feminine saying, I can't build that for you. You need to find that in yourself. You're like wandering through Elysium right now, just like letting yourself be pulled in any direction that you want, like the wind. Feminine's like, no, thank you. Masculine energy in this modality right now, this is that moment that you're recognizing potentially why something did not come into fruition the way that you did. And you're seeing your own accountability in not being able to give forth to something the way that you needed to give forth. The problem is now whether you feel like there's something here that's still possible to fix, or if this is something that's a lesson that needs to be learned. Final card for today's spread between our World card in combination with our 6 of Pentacles in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? 5s, all these 5s today. Hairy energy today, guys. Listen, masculine and feminine energy in divine union and partnership right now. This is more about this sense of like building closure around some circumstances and situations. It's almost this moment right now, and I have to stress, it's not that there's some situations or circumstances from the past that are like rising up right now. But it's almost this like optics. What we appreciate for the energy of divine union right now, it's not about the past rising back up. It's almost like where you're putting your energy. Like what feels like it's a productive space to put your energy versus what feels like it's just pulling you into spaces or places that had you in a lack mentality. Masculine and feminine are just like in divine union now, trying to like perfect that flow state, if you will. And a lot of it is almost like this observation of like not even needing to do something more, but to do something less is going to help with that flow state. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. This is the flow state of the divine union happening. This is basically saying that what you're seeking is in the union itself. It's in the divine union state. And that's creating a space that you're not feeling that pull from energy from the past trying to pull you out of it, or energy that's like threatening not to be reciprocal because you're going into it. This is almost that energy, again, being like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. The priority is the divine union. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is feminine energy coming into that personal sense of flow state. This is feminine energy calling their power back. This is feminine calling their energy back. Feminine energy looking at situations. Again, it's not the fact that there isn't closure here. Feminine potentially could even be looking right now at circumstances and situations wherein they feel like they weren't given closure. And feminine almost creating that closure for themselves at this moment, recognizing that closure is not something that is given to us. It is something that others help us facilitate for ourselves. Feminine's facilitating that closure point for themselves with these points of lessons that they've been working through over the last few days, actually weeks, if you will. Masculine in separation right now. This is that moment of trying to create closure for oneself. And it is requiring a point right now to look at circumstances and situations from the past, to ask and ascertain to yourself, is there something that you can return to now due to that better understanding? Or are these chapters that have been closed? Is there something here that there isn't any ability to fix? Masculine is doing a lot of that work right now and ascertaining that to determine their direction forward. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now. Magician energy. So a lot of this has to do with one's own sense of what you feel like you can accomplish at this moment. Feminine is trying to do a lot right now on a very tangible, practical level. Feminine's trying to get a lot done. Feminine's feeling the anxiety about their own ability to do so. Masculine, you are also having this moment right now. The thing with masculine energy right now is there's a feeling of being very protective of divine union energy right now, because there's some kind of feeling like outside, energy is somehow threatening the partnership, which is creating a space or place of masculine, almost like feeling a bit more triggered than feminine right now. Masculine, you might not be handling this trigger as well as feminine is, because this is masculine almost feeling like they need to come into this like protective space to make sure that energy around the divine union isn't impacting it. Feminine and masculine in separation. Feminine, again, this is that moment if in separation, it's not the fact that there may be an energy around you right now that isn't trying to come towards you. The bigger question that feminine is asking about the energy coming towards them at this time is whether it feels like it truly desires divine union, or if it's still in that vibration of only wanting to do something for their own, to fulfill their own unilateral needs or their own unilateral desires. Feminine's being very conscientious of this right now. And feminine's also feeling the frustration of weight of energy around divine union, either in the present or the past, having effectively manipulated situations or circumstances in ways that even the person involved in them can't necessarily see. While masculine energy in separation right now, this is the questioning and doubting of one's own sense of self if you're feeling like something like this went kind of over your radar without you recognizing it at the time that it occurred. That is our daily collective read for today. I'd like to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow. Guys, that's our